All right, I'm still trying to get caught up on all the questions I got. I'm going to do another Q&A here. The first two questions come from Anthony Truong. The first one being, where do guys taking TRT, that's testosterone replacement therapy, fall on the spectrum of being on steroids or not being on steroids? Because there's a certain allowance, and that as long as you're taking under a certain amount, it's not considered to be a performance-enhancing amount. Now, I don't know what that is, but the bigger point is that if you're taking testosterone because you've tested as low, irrespective of how much you're taking, you're not subject to the same negative side effects that someone who isn't taking testosterone is. Because your body makes testosterone from the same mother hormone that it uses to make cortisol. So if you're taking testosterone, you're not subject to the same negative side effects that accompany doing high volumes of work that someone who isn't taking testosterone is. It simply doesn't apply to you. Now, the next comment comes in response to a video in which I explained that being sore means nothing more than you've outdone your capacity in some way. And one of the things Anthony wrote was, in other words, soreness just means your body has faced a relatively new movement pattern. That's not what it means at all. You can be sore without having done anything new at all. It just means you've outdone your capacity in some way. Now, Alain Zambrano had a question about the gastroc head of the calf and active and passive insufficiency. Instead of overcomplicating things, I'm just going to explain it like this. The gastroc passes through the knee and the ankle. You want to fully stretch that muscle, you got to lengthen it at both the knee and the ankle. If you do not do that, the muscle will be in passive insufficiency. Now, a muscle's capacity to produce force declines the shorter and shorter that it gets. If you shorten the gastroc at either the knee or the ankle prior to trying to shorten it at the other joint, its capacity to produce force is going to be less due to active insufficiency. So hopefully that helps with your understanding. Now, SonicSyndicate had a question about his squats. He said his right foot is always rotating out, but his left foot is not. This indicates to me that your body's trying to protect something in some way. Something is shortening to turn your foot to keep something else long because that's where the brain perceives it to be safe. If it's really bothering you, find an MAT practitioner, that's muscle activation techniques, where you're from. They'll put you through some active range of motion assessments to determine what muscle isn't activating, and they'll likely solve the problem in under an hour for you. The next question comes from xSolareas PvP channel. Hopefully I said that right. He said, what movement for bigger, stronger biceps? You got to pick the right tool for the job based on your capacity to recruit. What tool allows you to impose the greatest demand on the muscle that you're trying to stimulate? It's going to differ from person to person. So through trial and error, you should be able to figure that out in a very short period of time. Now, Bombsofglory had a comment in response to a video in which I presented a strategy to accelerate the development of any muscle. The way you do it, train the same muscle 24 hours later. The reason for that, protein synthesis is maximized for 24 hours. So you train the same muscle 24 hours later, and I'm not talking about obliterate it, just a couple of eccentric contractions because that's what turns on mTOR the most, to extend the duration in which protein synthesis is maximized. So his question is, how long is protein synthesis maximized the second time? Honestly, I'm not going to bullshit you. I don't know. What this was a strategy. And the term strategy comes from the battlefield. It means the art of the leader. It has to do with how you deploy your resources. Winning strategies require creativity and insight, the ability to see what others don't. Training the same muscle 24 hours later to extend the duration in which protein synthesis is maximized is just that, seeing what others don't. It's nothing more than a strategy. But I will say this, anecdotally, if a bodybuilder wants to bring up a certain muscle group, what does he do? He trains it more. And generally it works for him. Why does it work? Probably for the reasons that I've discussed. Now, whether you like this or not, whether you share this or not, whether you click the fucking button at the bottom of the screen that you're looking at, subscribe to the channel and support me or not, ain't nothing going to stop me from continuing, because I've been continuing to provide the absolute best information you're ever going to find in your lifetime as it relates to training to build muscle and get stronger and lose fat and look better and perform better, all that fucking shit. Nothing's going to stop me from trying to empower as many people as humanly possible for free. And if you can't respect that, your whole perspective is whack.